Hey guys, what's up? Ian of Winter Does Stuff back with something different. Today we are ranking my top 10 albums of 2022. There was a lot of music released in 2022 that was just monumental for me as a person and a creator. I reviewed a lot of this stuff. Some of it I didn't get into until near the end of the year where stuff was already past its prime and, stuff wasn't needing to be reviewed anymore. Before we get into this, I do want to let you guys know that the day that I am recording this, it is March of 2023, so I am very, very late to this. But I did want to do this because it's something that I feel should be done. 2022 was just such a fantastic year for, music in general. And I wanted to, give my feedback on the year, no matter how arbitrary said opinion of the music in the year is. So, number 10, starting off pretty strong actually. This was an album that I ranked fairly low, and This tells you how good of albums that we had in 2022. Number 10 is Will of the People from Muse. It was one of the first albums that I checked out this year, and God, I am so glad I did. With the singles that came out being Won't Stand Down, Compliance, Will of the People, and Kill or Be Killed, before the album release with You Make Me Feel Like It's Halloween as the lead single. This album was awesome. I loved it from start to finish. I actually like it a lot more than most of Muse fans did. I heard a lot of people saying that this was like a lazy move for Muse. And I find it interesting that people say that because they actually went against what they were told to do with this one. If you guys didn't know, Will of the People was supposed to be a Muse Greatest Hits album. And Muse, being the guys that they are, they didn't want to release tracks that were already put out into the public just in like a cleaner or remastered way. So they decided to put out this, mixing all of the best styles that they've had over the years. And I think it turned out great. In my opinion, standout tracks are probably... let's see. Kill or Be Killed is definitely the standout track. For me, like, it is the best song on the album. It's probably one of the best songs in Muse's discography, at least for me. And then the other two tracks that really impressed me more than they just... I think these tracks just wowed me because I didn't think much of them going into the album, but You Make Me Feel Like It's Halloween... I think it's just one of the few tracks in this album that does what it's absolutely supposed to do. And doesn't make any mistakes with it. It's supposed to be like an anthemic Halloween song. And I mean, what more do you want from that? And I think the other song that really impressed me by how actually good it was, prior to me going into the album, was We Are Fucking F***ed. The track slaps. Like, as ridiculous as the chorus is, it's got genuinely harrowing lyrics. The guitar tones, especially in the beginning, the muted guitar in that very beginning section always gives me chills. And the guitar solo, it's very similar to the Knights of Sidonia days, where it's just like, whoa, this is crazy. This track, I think, We Are Fucking Fucked, was just awesome. And I loved it for everything that it was. It was just really cool, and it really subverted expectations for me. So yeah, that's my number 10 pick. Now, my number 9 pick is actually one that I don't think I checked out professionally, like in a video, but my number 9 pick is My Consequence, the self-titled LP from the solo artist My Consequence. It's a 16-track album of purely, prog gent metalcore instrumentals, and it's actually really, really good. It's an hour long, so it is a bit lengthy for those who aren't looking for that sort of thing, but I love this album. I think that it tells a very interesting story if you know the background of it, which I actually do. I interviewed the creator of the album. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the interview out. I had lost my own footage, and by that point, it wasn't worth it to do the interview anymore. I still think the creator, I don't know if he watches my stuff anymore. We haven't been in contact for a good while. I don't know if he would want to do an interview again, more so about this album and what's next for him, but that would certainly be cool. I think my standout tracks are the first one is titled The Alchemist, which is I don't know like what to say for most of these. I actually haven't listened to this album since it dropped, I think near the beginning of the year. I want to say like May or June time, sort of that area in the year, where before everything, you know, exploded in terms of the year and releases. But you know, I really liked this album. I think standout tracks are shoot, I can't remember a lot of the names, I'm sorry. Weight of the World is definitely one of them. Weight of the World is probably one of my favorites, because it has this essence to it that the others don't. It's, if I remember correctly, the creator said it was supposed to be like a fundamental reset for the tone of the album. Everything up to this point has been actually like pretty fun and driving and groovy, but at this point in the album, everything starts to get heavier and darker in tone, so I really like what was done with Weight of the World. My second standout track is, as I said, The Alchemist. The Alchemist is, it's balls to the walls heavy, and it's, I think, at the end of the album, and it just goes so hard. The synths, I remember how it sounds. There's a whoom whoom synth in the main chorus bit, and it's so cool. It's amazing. And the thing is that this is just one guy creating this album, and he did a fantastic job. And I think my third pick for best track is We All Burn. It is a, I believe, almost 4-minute track, and it just slams. There is a very, very speedy, very technical guitar solo near the end of the song, and goddamn, it's this album is probably one of the heavier ones that I listened to this year in terms of instrumentals. It's just, it goes balls to the walls all the time, and there's even one track, I cannot remember the name, but I believe the creator described it as rave metal. And I agree with that. I believe it's track number 5, but I can't remember the name of it. But yeah, that is my number 9 pick. So, my number 8 pick is actually one that I never really talked about. In any videos or live streams, I never really talked about it, but the original album of Caleb Hyles in One Breath. This is a 12-track album. I believe it runs about 50 minutes. And it is incredible. Caleb Hyles is an independent artist who has been doing covers for the last, I believe, 7 or 8 years. Maybe even longer than that. But all of a sudden, he decided to do an original album. And I believe he said it took him 2 or 3 years to get this thing done. And he's collaborated with several other musicians to try and get it done. Artists like CG5, Jonathan Young, and more. And it is a true testament to his musical ability. This album is astounding for someone who's never dipped their toes into original music before. Like, Caleb did something very, very special with this album, and I cannot commend him enough. I think standout tracks are, first of all, Goodbye Monday. The single that he put out before the release of the album. It was just so, it was different. This entire album is really something different from a lot of Caleb's stuff. I think standout track number 2 would have to be In One Breath, the title track. And I really can't commend Caleb enough. And the third one, God, I can't remember the name. I can't remember the name of a lot of these, but it was the one featuring Jonathan Young, and goddamn, this album is gorgeous. It paints a picture of someone who's been clouded by success and praise, that they just don't get to live a life. And, you know, going into the entertainment industry like I am, I hope I never reach a point where my judgment and my feelings become jaded from that sort of an experience of growing big. And I know I'm nowhere near there yet. I know that I probably won't get there for a while, but I mean, I've been trying. And In One Breath really paints a picture that is so different from a lot of albums out there. And I really recommend listening to it, along with every single other album in this video, if I haven't mentioned that already. If you haven't listened to the albums that I'm listing here, go check them out. Do that. Yeah. But yeah, In One Breath from Caleb Hyles is my number 8 pick. Alright, so my number 7 pick. This was probably just gonna be an album that was gonna be on here regardless of how high or low it was. It was almost guaranteed. Electric Callboy's Tekkno. This album is just so fucking fun, man. I know that Electric Callboy, formerly known as Eskimo Callboy, it is a band that's not exactly for all people. Like, the only way I can describe this band is happy metal. It's got such good vibes, it's got such good feelings in it, and this band really knows how to make metal into a good time. Standout tracks are Pump It, We Got the Moves, and Techno Train. Honorable mention to Arrow of Love, because just the music video for Arrow of Love is fucking amazing. I cannot sing this album's praises enough. It's just a really good, fun, and happy time. I don't know really how else to describe it. It was one of the last albums released in the year, and it slapped. It really did its job as serving as just a really fun, lighthearted, nice-spirited time. Yeah, so Tekkno from Electric Callboy is my number 7 pick, oddly enough. Alright, so my number 6 pick, this was definitely going to be another one of those where it was on here either way, whether it be higher or lower. Scoring The End of the World from Motionless in White. This album is something extremely special. Motionless in White is one of those bands where I feel, at least, everything they put out now is just a hit. They slap so good, and actually today, the day that I'm recording this, they hit over 1 billion streams on Spotify across their discography, which is amazing for a band that goes as heavy as these guys do. Top tracks are probably the title track, Scoring the End of the World, featuring Mick Gordon, Meltdown, the opener, and Slaughterhouse. This album is so genuinely good and heavy, but it's full of emotion, it's full of story and feeling, and the craft is just absolutely tangible in this album. It's so good. With 12 tracks, you can expect just a really good time with this album. It's something that I think needs to be shown a lot more in metal, because it's not just heavy, it's, as I said, it's emotional, it's driven by feeling, and it's really something awesome. And I mean, of course, you've got like filthy fucking breakdowns, like in Slaughterhouse. I think that's probably one of the heaviest tracks they've ever done, Slaughterhouse. And also an honorable mention to the track Masterpiece, which is, like the entire album, it's a genuine masterpiece. This is probably one of Motionless's best albums, and I've listened to all of their stuff since God knows how long I've been listening. But yeah, my number 6 pick is Scoring the End of the World from Motionless in White. Alright, so before we get into the top 5 albums, I want to give out 3 honorable mentions to albums that I feel like they were amazing, but they didn't quite make the cut of the top 10. With the first of these being Remember That You Will Die from Polyphia, which is just an astounding album. They have vocalists on this one, which is like a non-Polyphia thing. With the standout track of this one being Playing God, which is honestly one of the best songs of the year, I think. I think it is just so well done. The technical impressiveness. That's the only way I can put it right now. I'm very tired, but the technical ability of the guys at Polyphia is just so awesome. The next one is Divisive from Disturbed. This album was really something special too. New Disturbed is always great, and this really did harken back to like the 10,000 Fist era in a lot of ways. And I really liked what they did with it. Hey You and the title track, Divisive, are some really standout ones. I think they did a really good job with it. And the third of these is Slipknot's The End So Far. Slipknot has been just a huge band in terms of how metal is seen nowadays. And The End So Far, the entire track list is just so good. And I really think that all 3 of the albums deserve as much recognition as possible. So, again, if you haven't heard a lot of the songs on this video, go check them all out. Because every single artist, every single member of each of these bands deserves everything. All of the support they get. But yeah, those are my honorable mentions. My number 5 album is actually one that came out. It's probably one of the first albums of the year. January 14th, Shadow of Intense Elegy released. And this is, bar none, one of the best deathcore albums I have ever had the absolute pleasure of listening to. This entire album is great from start to finish. I can't name a single bad track. And the Elegy trilogy is number 3 in the best trilogies in music that I have ever heard. Second only to one that's actually coming up, and the Drugs trilogy from Falling in Reverse. This album is so good. Ben Duerr is one of the most powerful, diverse vocalists in deathcore right now. And he really needs some more attention. Not only that, but adding Phil Bozeman to, I can't remember the track name, but to the lineup of this album was just the icing on the cake of one of the best deathcore albums I've ever listened to. This album really set the stage for just how good 2022 was in terms of its music. And I'm very, very happy about its spot as my number 5 pick. Number 4 on my list of favorite albums of 2022 is one that really doesn't need to be overstated, because there's no overstating how good this album is. True Power by I Prevail. There's something amazing about the prevalence of I Prevail. They've gone through so much. The band and the members themselves. And this fucking album, it shows all of the damage that's been done to them has just made them stronger. From the intro of There's Fear in Letting Go to fucking balls to the wall slammers like Fuck What You Think You Know, Self-Destruction, Body Bag, to the ending moments with Closure, Long Live the King. It's a genuinely fantastic album. And I was going to do a reaction series for the album, reviewing each track, but unfortunately I didn't get to do that by the time the album released. And by the time I found out that I could actually do that, it was too late. The album had already passed its peak popularity, and I unfortunately couldn't. But this album is amazing. Absolutely phenomenal job to every member involved. And yeah, I love it. True Power by I Prevail is just so goddamn good. And I'm really happy it's in the top 5 at number 4 on my list. Now, into the top 3 of my favorite albums of 2022. Number 3 is one that you guys have definitely seen me interact with the most out of every album in the selection, In Stasis from Monuments. The sheer fact that this album exists is a true testament to the abilities of every single member of the Monuments band. With the addition of Andy as the lead vocalist, one of my favorite vocalists right now of all time, he's such a versatile, just a powerhouse vocalist, and his range is unlike a lot, pretty much any other vocalist I've seen, and he's amazing. John Brown on the guitar is a living gent metal legend. His riffs are unparalleled. Mike Mallion on the drums is so quick and relentless and so strategic of where he places every hit. And fucking adding Mick Gordon to the production side, the artwork for the singles. This album is just genuinely so phenomenal, and I can't sing its praises enough. From the intro featuring Nima, from that beginning all the way to Arch Essence featuring Spencer Sotelo of Periphery. It's kind of funny that this is in my top 3 because I'm thinking that Periphery 5 might be in my top 10 of this year, 2023. Just saying. Funny that we're talking about Monuments while Periphery just came out with Gent is not a genre, and it is not. It is a medium. It is a style. Anyway, all the way to the end with the Cimmerian as genuinely one of the best metal tracks I have ever listened to in my life. The Cimmerian absolutely. And I shit you guys not, the Cimmerian changed my view on metal music. That is how powerful it is. Running 8 minutes, the entire album running 50. This is a must listen for anyone who is a fan of the metalcore genre, who's a fan of gent music, who's a fan of just genuine musicianship. This album was something incredibly special, and it came at a time where I didn't think it could get any better. I didn't. And it really elevated a lot of my experience this year. And I have made 3 different cover albums of this album. Cover versions, and I'm very, very happy that it's done. There might be a one take coming soon, but anyway, this album is so special. In Stasis from Monuments is my number 3 album of 2022. I have to admit that choosing between these last 2 albums has been a challenge. I've debated which one of these is going to be higher since I started this list, because I knew these 2 were going to be the best in the top 2. But I've decided that Pain Remains from Lorna Shore is my second favorite album of the year. Pain Remains is a must listen for all metal enjoyers. This album brings out everything that I love in metal. From the very beginning, Welcome Back, Oh Sleeping Dreamer, it starts out heavy as shit. It starts out heavy as balls. It goes so quick with 3 distinct, differently styled breakdowns in one song, carrying over to Into the Earth and Sun Eater, which were the first singles of the album, which Into the Earth being relentlessly heavy, and then Sun Eater, along with Curse to Die, another single, being some of the most melodic deathcore I've ever heard. And then we have Soulless Existence, the tonal reset of the album, similarly to My Consequence with Weight of the World. It's a really devastatingly sad piece of music that paves the way right in for the explosion of Apotheosis and Wrath, the next 2 tracks. And then going into my second favorite trilogy of songs in all of music with the Pain Remains trilogy. I reacted in videos to the first 2 Pain Remains portions, and I cried during each of them, with Pain Remains 2 taking the cake for one of the most ambitiously harrowing music videos I've ever witnessed. The amount of emotion that was placed in just the Pain Remains trilogy alone is staggering. And the album exudes professionalism and mastery in every drum hit, every guitar riff, every scream, every growl and pig squeal and goblin noise. Pain Remains is a surreal album. And while it may be technically better than my next pick, I think that this album doesn't hold up as well as the next one, because the next and best album of 2022, in my opinion, is the finale to an entire discography of an era, Scrap Heap by Nate Wants to Battle. This is an album that I feel immensely passionate about. For those of you who don't know, I have been following Nathan Sharp, Nate Wants to Battle of Give Heart Records, since he put out his first Pokemon parody. And listening to this album was gut-wrenching. I have explained that Nate is one of my favorite artists of all time. And when he put out the video titled It's Time to Move On, and announced that he was leaving the nerdcore music scene, I was pretty much incoherent for several days. I didn't know how to act. I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping, because Nate has been such a big part of my musical journey. And hearing just the content of this album, it makes me so emotional, knowing that Nate was suffering from so much burnout, from so much music that he had created over the years, the responsibility of that, the creative output that he was putting into this, it was getting to him. And that's why it's my favorite album. While Pain Remains may be the technical better of the two in terms of just how everything flows and how everything is mastered and how professional it is, Scrap Heap holds in my heart as potentially my favorite album of all time. Because the way that Nate framed this song, It's not even a fandom album. This is an original made album. The amount of personality and emotion and care that was put into this last piece of Nate Wants to Battle media is above a lot of music that I've heard. And trust me, I've heard a lot. Every single track on this album is one that I go to daily. I have listened to this album every single day at least once since it dropped. And I could not be happier. This album is truly, truly special. And it holds my place as not only my number one in 2022, but potentially one of my top 10 of all time. And there you guys have it. That was my top 10 albums of 2022 list. I hope you enjoyed this video. It is very late. I have been putting this one off for now, for like a long time now, because specifically of the number one pick. I know a lot of people might be upset about that, seeing as most of these albums are, you know, more mainstream metalcore stuff. And even with Hyles, he's more well-known in terms of that, but I don't know. It's my opinion, it's my video, it's my ranking. But yes, if you enjoyed what you saw here, leave a like, comment on what you want me to react to, what you want me to do, what you want me to maybe include in other videos going forward. Subscribe to the channel. I want to hit 50 subs by the end of the quarter of the year, because that means we can start live streaming and doing things that I've really wanted to do for a long time now. But yes, I hope you enjoyed everything here. Go check out every album that I've listed, because every single member of every single band or group, or even the solo artists like My Consequence, Hyles, and Nate, they all deserve support. They all deserve love. And I would really appreciate it if you just took the time in your day to go listen to the tracks on each of these albums, because I can promise you that every single one is nothing less than phenomenal and astounding in every single way. With that being said, I'm going to have to go because I've got a lot of stuff to prepare for. Pre-Negative Cognition Act 3 is in the works. It's actually in this notebook that I have right here, 70 pages of script, so I gotta get to that. But I will see you guys in due time. Peace.